Hello everybody, my name is Manfred Ottinger. My partner Stephan Saplywyj and I will be providing an overview of self-determination theory, SDT. SDT falls within the realm of self-perceptions and intrinsic motivation. SDT puts forth that the purest form of motivation and engagement in activities are argued to depend upon the individual's experience of autonomy, competence, and relatedness. The higher the quality of all three of these central factors, the greater the performance, degree of persistence, and level of creativity. The dynamic between extrinsic forces acting on a person and the intrinsic motives, as well as needs rooted in human nature, forms the foundation of self-determination theory. These extrinsic forces include such things as reward systems, grades, evaluations, and/or the opinions of others. Intrinsic motives consist of personal motivations, interests, curiosities, cares, and values. These intrinsic motivations may not necessarily be recognized or externally rewarded, but they nevertheless sustain passions, creativity, and unwavering efforts. The aspects of human development to which self-determination theory relates are, therefore, cognition, emotion, social influence, and behavior. Decky and Ryan, 2002, argue that the more administrators and policymakers push for controlling strategies to establish accountability, ignoring the motivation of teachers and students alike, the more they will diminish learning outcomes. Niemiec and Ryan, 2009, reviewed evidence suggesting that intrinsic motivation and autonomous types of extrinsic motivation relate positively to important academic outcomes. They went on to state that in classrooms supporting autonomy, competence, and relatedness, students tend to be more intrinsically motivated, the more compelling of the two forms of motivation, more willing to engage in uninteresting tasks, and to value academic activities. They assert that with higher volition, learners demonstrate higher quality learning outcomes. The theory was first developed by Edward L. Decky and Richard M. Ryan, and has since been elaborated upon and refined by scholars from many countries. Decky is currently a professor at the University of Rochester in the Department of Clinical and Social Sciences in Psychology in Rochester, New York. Ryan, a clinical psychologist, has recently been appointed as professor at the Institute for Positive Psychology and Education at the Australian Catholic University in Sydney, Australia. Together and separately, the pair have promoted SDT through theory, research, and ongoing training of scholars. Frankly speaking, because many of the tasks that educators want their students to perform are not inherently interesting or enjoyable, knowing how to promote more active and volitional versus passive and controlling forms of extrinsic motivation becomes an essential strategy for successful teaching. Self-determination, or SDT, encompasses a broad spectrum of human motivation and personality. SDT defines intrinsic and extrinsic sources of motivation, the interplay between them, and their roles in cognitive and social development. Furthermore, SDT discusses how social and cultural factors facilitate or undermine one's sense of freedom and initiative. The purest forms of motivation and engagement in activities are argued to depend upon the individual's experience of autonomy, competence, and relatedness. The higher the level of all three of these central factors, the greater the performance, degree of persistence, and level of creativity. In addition, SDT posits that the degree to which any of these three psychological needs is unsupported within a social context will have a detrimental impact in that setting. The dynamics between autonomy, competence, and relatedness have been studied within families, classrooms, teams, organizations, clinics, and cultures. As a result, the SDT framework possesses broad implications for understanding the practices that enhance versus diminish the degree of wellness in a given setting. A case study undertaken by Hartnett, St. George, and Drawn in 2014 focused upon SDT in an online course setting. 9 student participants took part in the study, out of 47 taking the course, as well as 1 lecturer. The course was considered internet-based rather than an online course because students received some print material. Participants were located throughout New Zealand and partook in distance studies from the main campus. The student participant group comprised 1 male and 8 females, with ages ranging from 8 to 55. Students in this program were preparing to teach in New Zealand elementary schools. The case itself was reviewed within an introductory social studies curriculum course, which formed a compulsory component of the program. The study revealed that students' varied learning circumstances need to be acknowledged and, where possible, accommodated accordingly in order to support the psychological needs and the expression of high-quality motivation, that is, intrinsic motivation, among learners. For online instructors, this means finding the time to familiarize yourself with the unique circumstances of each student and to be proactive about anything that might result in course requirements being perceived as constrained in some way. Establishing frequent, ongoing communication with learners, online instructors are in a better position to monitor and respond to situational factors that could potentially undermine learner motivation. Harnett and others, 2014, cite that interaction is essential to the establishment of a supportive community and must be integrated into the overall structure of a course. They state that respect, concern for others, and a culture of inclusiveness help to promote quality online interaction. Adopting a friendly approach and being willing to share relevant personal experiences are ways in which online instructors can develop and demonstrate supportive online relationships that promote motivation to learn. 2 quotations are offered, coming from a pair of students involved in the study. It was really valuable because so much of what we do in our other courses is prescribed that you need to have the experience of making your own choices and making your own mistakes or your own successes. I like the freedom, the freedom of that. We could choose our own strand, our own levels, our own school. Within educational contexts, Grolnick and Ryan, 1987, in the USA, and Cage and Namaki, 1990, in Japan, discovered that evaluative pressures undermine students' intrinsic motivation for classroom topics as well as their performance in school, while autonomy support facilitating these 2 factors. Grolnick and others, 1991, found that elementary students reporting higher autonomous learning were assessed by their teachers as performing better on both academic achievement and adjustment in the classroom. Niemiec and others, 2006, found that high school students claiming higher autonomous self-regulation for attending college also reported higher well-being, vitality, life satisfaction, and lower ill-being, depression, externalizing problems. Black and Decky, 2000, discovered that college students who reported higher autonomous self-regulation for learning organic chemistry reported higher perceived competence and interest/enjoyment for the course material, in addition to lower anxiety. 1. Present rules in an informational rather than controlling manner. 2. Provide opportunities for students to make choices related to an assignment, project, or test/exam. 3. Don't crowd students. Give them considerable autonomy in their extracurricular activities. 4. Evaluate students' performance in an uncontrolling fashion. 5. Minimize reliance on extrinsic reinforcers, but use them when necessary. 1. Present rules in an informational rather than controlling manner. 2. Provide opportunities for students to make choices related to an assignment, project, or test/exam. 3. Don't crowd students. Give them considerable autonomy in their extracurricular activities. 4. Evaluate students' performance in an uncontrolling fashion. 5. Minimize reliance on extrinsic reinforcers, but use them when necessary. 6. Self-determination theory helps to form a complete understanding of all students' learning needs, including those of students with learning difficulties and/or special needs. Thank you so much.